Hello, and you're very welcome to the Faithful Podcast channel. I want to first of all apologise for there not being a video in the last couple of days. I just had absolutely no time to make previews or reviews of the Hurling or the Football Championship that took place over the last week. But we are here now. We're going to be looking back on the weekend's action in the Tullamore Court Hotel Senior Football Championship, and we're also going to just briefly mention the goings-on in the Malloy Precast Environmental Systems Offaly Senior Hurling Championship that took place last weekend. There will be a preview video of this weekend's hurling action coming either this Thursday or Friday. And as well as that, we're also going to be looking forward to Offaly's All-Ireland Intermediate Camogie final clash with Kerry in Croke Park. I'll be there on Sunday, and I'm hoping that the Faithful can get the job done, and we're wishing them all the best of luck with that in the due process. Looking back on the weekend's action, and where else can you start but the clash between Road and Ferban? A huge win for Road, 210 to 112 over Ferban in their opening game, having lost to Edenderry by 9 points in their opening match. A lot of people would have probably started to question whether Road were going to be able to compete for this year's Offaly Senior Football Championship and be right up there with the top, with the likes of the Ferbans, the likes of Tullamores, even the likes of Edenderry's now, who seem to have really passed them. You know, you saw the performance the last day and how they opened them up, got in behind them for goals, got their points. And it was a bit of a concern from a Road perspective. And at half-time, not that they were even playing that bad, it was fairly even enough for the first 20-25 minutes of the opening half. But when Ferban hit 1-3 on the edge of half-time, it looked like it just looked like their season could be on the line, And it's amazing, like, they're 5 points down at half-time, sort of similar to Ballinamere in the hurling against Tullamore. You just feel like they need the second half of a lifetime in order to get themselves back into some bit of a contention, and they needed a big win, and that's exactly what they got. Brian Darby with a goal in the very last minute of the game, the 62nd minute to be precise, and that was enough to get them over the line. Simply can't beat hard work and dedication in order to get the job done. To outscore your opponents 1-8 to 5 points in the second half, it's a fantastic second half turnaround from Road, and especially to get a win at home as well after the disastrous opening game with Edenderry. But from a Ferban perspective, God, they've really let this one slip. Because I was at their game against Ballycommon, I was really impressed with them. David Nally had a super game that night. Cian Johnson was really good that night, etc. And they were looking like they were going on the right track here. And you sort of felt, right, get a win here. You've 2 wins out of 2. Essentially 1 foot in the knockout stages, and you can move on from here. And I still expect them to get out of the group. I wouldn't worry about that too much, but it is a big loss for them, because momentum can carry us so far. And to get a win away to Road, the type of team that Road are, would have been absolutely huge for them. So yeah, look, it's a real tough defeat for them to take, especially in the last minutes. Really tough. But you got to give credit to Road. Coming back and getting the win in the way that they did is just super. And it just shows you sometimes the old traditional clubs, they could be on the edge of maybe a new era, a transitional period, whatever, but they've always got something in them. They've always got something about them. And just unbelievable passion and determination to get themselves over the line in the second half. And like, it's the thing, Road started the game well enough. They were in front, I believe, after the 21st minute. Aaron Keelan getting a goal. It's probably a shame that he didn't get more minutes with Offaly this year with the senior footballers, but nevertheless, he's making sure that he puts in the performances for his club this year. Anyways, he got a goal after 21 minutes. David Nally's goal then after 28 minutes looked to have been sort of a killer moment. It gave them a 5-point advantage going into halftime, and I suppose from there you were probably thinking, right, Ferban can kick on from here. They can get themselves up another gear. And they can absolutely get a result in the end after the 60 minutes. But yeah, no, look, absolutely great credit from Road. They came out flying in the second half. They got 5 points without reply, which was just unbelievable. They were levelled in the game after 44 minutes. Ross Keelan was having a very solid second half. Just players like these who were stepping up to the mark when they needed to the most. Anton Sullivan did miss a penalty, which was unfortunate from him. But I think just overall, Road in the second half, it felt like it was an even enough contest to a degree. But I just think for their grit and determination and how far back they were having to fight back to get themselves a win, especially after the demoralising defeat the opening day. I think Road overall, they deserve to get this victory, and it could catapult them now for the rest of the season. You think they've Edenderry out of the way, they've Furban out of the way, they have Ballycommon to come in the next couple of games. They'll have Durrow to play as well. So, they still have a load of tough games to come, but nevertheless, I think it's a fantastic victory for them. And yeah, look, fair play to Road. Big win for them. And it makes the group now a lot more interesting, with Edenderry having 2 wins from 2, Road having 1, Road and Furban having one each and lost 1 each now. And it's an exciting season. Really can't wait to see how it transpires from here. In the other game, Edenderry came through and won by 25 points to 2 goals and 10 away to Durrow. A crazy sort of a game. It started off fierce well. Mark Troy getting a goal inside the opening 60 seconds. And Durrow, to their credit, were playing really well. Kieran Burke got one very good score in the first half. Dan Burke was on the ball a good bit. Kevin McDermott was on the ball a good bit. Just these types of players were doing fierce well. Jack Fogarty in the middle of the field was doing well. Ross Ravenhill was working hard. And Durrow were really putting it up to Edenderry, and they weren't allowing them a lot of space in the first half, and they were getting in tackles. They were could have even had more scores, to be honest with you. The fact that it was 2-6 to 12 points at half time, Durrow could easily have been potentially in front in the first half, but at the same time, they could not keep Cian Farrell quiet. 14 points in this game. He still has a lot to give, in my opinion, with the Offaly senior footballers, and if he can continue this sort of form for the remainder of the season, then yeah, he would have to probably get a call up next season back into the Offaly squad with the likes of Kelly and Mickey Hart, and Declan Kelly and Mickey Hart. You'd imagine so anyways. But look, it was a brilliant performance from Cian Farrell. Jordan Hayes, I thought, did fairly well as well. He's had a very good season, not just with Offaly, but obviously he's having a good season now with Edenderry as well, which is good to see. Caelan Bryan as well. These sorts of players are having really good spells at the moment. So yeah, look, brilliant win for Edenderry to get themselves a second win out of the season already. Cian Farrell was speaking after the game, and he was saying, that you can take a lot of motivation from winning the league. And although, look, you're not setting your stall out to win the league at the start of the year, but they hadn't won anything since 2015, lost a couple of league finals, have lost a couple of semi-finals along the way. And for them now to be in a position where they've won the league and they've got their opening 2 wins at the championship, it breeds a lot of confidence. And with the likes of Farrell in form, Lee Pearson, the Offaly captain, in there, Rory Egan at centre back, Jordan Hayes having a storming season at the moment as well, it can only go well from here. So yeah, brilliant win for Edenderry. From a Durrow perspective, look, it's a tough defeat to get on your opening game, but I thought they competed well for the large majority of the game. And look, Durrow have the balance, having the Ballinamere lads who are hurling so it's always going to be difficult from that perspective. But overall, look, I think it was a good performance from Durrow. They've certainly shown that they can compete with the best teams in Offaly this season. And yeah, look, the remainder of their campaign will be one to watch. There's no question about that. In the Senior B Football Championship, I think it'd be a lie to say that Cappancur versus Tubber was a classic, because look, it wasn't. I was at the game. It wasn't the best game I've ever watched. But Cappancur got the job done in the end, despite Bernard Allen scoring 7 points for Tubber, despite the performance of Donald Shirley, who has now suffered a very bad injury on his arm. So we wish him all the best of luck with that. But yeah, despite the best efforts of those two, an Owen Carroll goal and a 2-pointer from him as well, moments later in the final 5-6 minutes of the game, managed to squeeze in a 110 to 10 point win, which was crucial for Cappancur getting their first win of the championship season. For Tubber, it's a tough defeat, but they had won their opening game, so they'll only move forward from here, and they can certainly cause big threats this season in the Senior B Championship. Cappancur were missing Bill Carroll, so obviously they have him to come back. But good win, good solid win for them. And in the other games, Gracefield were 117 to 211 winners over Ballycumber. Great win for Gracefield there. Tough defeat for Ballycumber, but they competed well, and really entertaining game there. And Clara were 19 points to 1-6 winners over Dangan. You'd be looking at Clara at the moment, and probably Cappancur as the two big favourites to win out this year's Senior B Championship realistically. Obviously, it's not going to be easy for any one of those teams, but it's a big win. It's a big win for Clara to get. And look, after the disappointment of not even reaching the final last year and the way they lost to Cappancur as well, they'll be desperate to get themselves back to a Senior B final and get themselves back up to the Senior A grade next year. And putting in performances like this, putting in wins like this against Dangan is going to take them very far. So yeah, they're going really well in the Senior B Hurling Championship at the moment as well. So yeah, fair play to Clara. Big win for them. Big win for Gracefield as well. So congratulations to them. And so yeah, I suppose looking back on the hurling action that was on the previous weekend, obviously Ballinamere got a big win over Tullamore, 4-18 to 2-18, and what was a cracking game, a really, really entertaining game. Houlihan at centre forward had an absolute storming game, caused them all sorts of bother throughout the evening. I thought the Foxes did really, really well as well that evening for Tullamore. Cormac Egan had a fantastic game in midfield, but just it wasn't to be in O'Brien Park. Mike O'Brien got 2 goals, Aaron Maher got 2 goals, and ultimately those were the differences in the end. It was a big win for Ballinamere after losing the opening game to Coolderry. They really, really needed to get a performance here, and they really, really needed more than anything just to get 2 points, because they were down at half-time, and another defeat could have really made a mess of their season. But they've gotten 2 points now. They'll move on to their next game, and it's a big, big win for them, and it's just a case of get in and get out, get the job done, and that's exactly what they've done. Still have Dan Ravenhill to come back as well, so yeah, look, they'll move on from there. Elsewhere, Coolderry were 220 to 214 winners over Sir Kieran. I was at this game, and to be fair to Sir Kieran, they put up a much better fight than what they did against Birdie opening day. Adrian Hines was fantastic at full forward. The goal he got was unbelievable. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend going on to Clubber and looking up that match and just looking at the absolute powerful goal that he flung into the net. And in fairness, look, the rest of the game as well, I thought the likes of John Coughlin had a good game, and Tom Dooley had a good game. Kevin Dunn had a good game. Luke Carey put himself about as well. So there were some other good performers for Sir Kieran, but alas, the likes of Keane Burke, the likes of Kevin Connolly, the likes of Owen Burke, who pulled off 2 unbelievable late points in the game to get his side over the line. Owen Parlin put in a big captain's performance, got the opening goal for them as well. So yeah, look, ultimately it's a big win for Coolderry. 2 wins out of 2 now after the win on the opening weekend against Ballinamere. In a way, this could be a victory, as Brian Carroll was kind of saying to me when I was speaking to him after the game, that it could do more for Coolderry getting a tight win like this and having to dig deep to get over the line than sort of the win against Ballinamere would. But yeah, look, a fantastic win for Coolderry. 2 wins out of 2 for them now, and they'll move on from there. Elsewhere, Shinrone had a comfortable 421 to 3-9 win over Kinnity. Wasn't really much of a contest. You got to feel sorry for Kinnity. They're struggling at the moment for numbers. You feel they probably will finish, maybe them or maybe St. Rhinus. It's hard to know, but you just feel like maybe they'll be the ones that will finish bottom of the group and they'll go into a relegation battle. They're just really struggling for numbers at the moment. Some of their best players are away as well. And Shinrone really just had no issue here whatsoever. They'll know they'll have tougher games to come. But again, it's 2 wins out of 2 for Shinrone as well. They're motoring along very nicely. Had them down as potentially the 3rd favourites for the Offaly Championship this year at the start of the year. And look, they're going really well at the moment. And they can only look up from here. It's bright sides ahead for the Shinrone club. And in what was probably the game of the weekend in terms of looking ahead to the weekend, Belmont pulled off a big, big win, a big confidence-boosting win over St. Rhinus, 20 points to 14. The performances of some of the players on the pitch, the likes of Flynn in the full back line, the likes of Nally, who just is having the season of his life at the moment, or even just after 2 games for Belmont at the moment. Absolutely unbelievable. The Egan's, just everyone in that team at the moment, they're working fierce hard at the moment. They should have gotten a win the opening day against Kilcormac, but they didn't lie down. They didn't sulk about it. They got on with their business and they turned up in Banagher. And look, St. Rhinus were poor. Let's not beat around the bush. They were very, very poor. And with their game this weekend being against Kilcormac, you have a fear now that their season could be over this weekend, which would be crazy to think that St. Rhinus would have their season essentially done by literally not even the middle of August. But that's just the way things are at the moment for them. But look, that makes no difference to Belmont. They were absolutely sensational in this game. They turned up, they hunted in packs, they took their scores when they had to, and they're going to be a real dangerous opposition for the remainder of the championship. They'll have Kinnity coming up this weekend. I should expect them to get a victory there. And then their game against Shinrone can tell really a lot about where both sides are. Of course, you have to remember they still have Oisin Kelly to come back into the team as well. So they're motoring along really nicely at the moment, and fair play to them. It's great to see Belmont still kicking, still going well, after the season they had last year. And look, big win for them. Fair play to them. They'll move on to this weekend for St. Rhinus. Tough defeat, just not in a good place at the moment. And like I said, with Kilcormac coming up against them this weekend, it could be their season defining game, really. So we'll have to be interesting to see how that pans out this weekend. And some of the other games in the Senior B Championship, Lusma have continued on their good form. They have 2 wins from 2. They beat Coolderry 321 to 118. Carrigan Riverstown have 2 wins from 2. They defeated champions Kilcormac-Callaghy 218 to 115. And the most dramatic game of the weekend, as Conor Doyle scored a last-minute free from about 20-25 yards out into the absolute roof of the top corner to seal Clara a 1-point win over Clodia Gales. An absolutely dramatic game. I was at it myself, and I think I counted 4 yellow cards in each team. Liam Langton's red card in the first quarter of the match. It kind of maybe spurred Clodia Gales on a bit. They started hurling really, really well, and for a large majority of the game, you wouldn't have thought that Clodia Gales were down to 14 men. You'd have thought Clara were the ones who were down to 14 men, but they just couldn't see the game out, unfortunately for them, and they now have 2 defeats from 2, and their game coming up, their game coming up this weekend against Kilcormac-Callaghy. Both sides, neither of them with a win so far this season, so that could be a really, really season-defining game for both clubs come this Friday evening in O'Connor Park. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to see. For Clara, they have 2 wins from 2 now. They take on Lusma this weekend, so both sides will be looking to continue their good form. And yeah, look, it's making the Senior B Championship really, really interesting. So yeah, fair play to all those teams. So yeah, that's just going to be a wrap up for this video. We'll have a preview of this weekend's action coming up later on in the week, as well as previewing Offaly's All-Ireland final against Kerry on Sunday, which hopefully there'll be a big faithful support in Croke Park in Dublin on Sunday for that. But yeah, thanks a million for watching the video. Really, really appreciate it. If you've liked the video, if you like the video, please do hit the like button. Subscribe if you are new around here. Do also check out Freelance Advertising Ireland on his Instagram page, who's been doing all the graphics for me, both previewing and reviewing matches. Give him a follow on Instagram. I've left the link in the description. Great work that he's doing at the moment. So yeah, thanks a million for watching. Really, really appreciate it. And I'll chat to you in the next one. So yeah, thanks a million for watching. I'll chat to you next time.